Hello and welcome to this episode of Terror Talk on the Terror Express. I'm Jason Bradford, and with us today we have Amy Ortega. Hello, Amy. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well, thank you, and thank you for being here. Before we start, I would love to just ask you, what is it about the horror genre that you love so much?
Well, I think for a big part of it, horror is like coming home for me. I grew up watching Freddy Krueger and, all of those iconic Halloween, all of those films that really built the genre.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never lost the love of it. So I've watched pretty much any horror movie you can think of. I've seen it. Even if it's terrible, I've probably seen it.
Well, I would normally ask you, well, what's your favorite horror movie? But we are here today to discuss your favorite horror movie, and listeners are tuning in now. They already know we're talking about the movie Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I watched this for the first time in years last night, and I have to say, even though a lot of people consider it sci-fi, it's got a lot of horror elements to it.
I'm not offended that a lot of people consider it sci-fi. I feel like you can go either way on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger himself has even said that it has a lot of horror aspects to it. I believe his quote was, "I like the idea of starting out with an action adventure and then coming in with some horror and science fiction." So even, it was a perfect marriage of the three. What is it about Predator that makes that your favorite film?
I remember the first time I ever saw it. And for some reason, I think I was really just attracted to, I know the big part of it was the way the Predator sees.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked seeing things in heat signatures, and I found it to be very fascinating when I was a child. And then I think it was probably around that time I had really developed a pretty potent crush on Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Uh-huh.
And I don't mind admitting that. Everybody knows. So as far as that goes, it attracted me just for him being in that movie. And I think there are just elements in that movie you don't see in so many others. You've got your camping slashers and, you could break down that genre in so many different ways, but you don't have this.
Right. And it's funny you said that you had a crush on Arnold Schwarzenegger, and there was one scene in the beginning where he was with Carl Weathers, and they shook hands, and you see their muscles bulging, and it was just like a close-up of their muscles, and I thought, okay, Arnold, I see what you did there. I got you.
Well, and I think that, too, also demonstrates that power struggle that you have between Arnold and Carl throughout the entire film.
Right, and there are these muscle houses that are up against this creature. Yeah, absolutely. Now, are you familiar with the behind the scenes of Predator?
I realized Jean-Claude Van Damme was going to be our Predator at one point.
Yeah, it was a little too short, though.
Well, and I heard he pitched a fit, too, because he was never going to be seen. His face was never going to be seen on camera. So I did read an article about that at one point. Yeah. And he really wasn't going to be able to showcase his martial arts.
Right. And Kevin Hall, who ended up playing the Predator, actually has a little cameo where you can see his face. So maybe if Jean-Claude had just given a little more patience and leeway, maybe he would have gotten his little cameo on there.
Well, he was a young kid though at that point, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was interesting that the film itself was conceived on an idea from a joke about Rocky V, that Rocky Balboa has fought every human creature that there is. What's next? An alien, and that statement is what got the Thomas brothers inspired to write this, originally called Hunter. So I thought that was kind of funny. You never know where mega blockbuster is going to be born from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And a mega blockbuster, talk about it. I would really like to thank you, too, for picking this movie, because I haven't watched it in such a long time, probably since the late 80s. And
oh, wow.
I forgot how good this movie is. And I can't recall anything from part 2, so I will admit to you right now that this weekend is going to be a Predator binge. I did watch Prey. I did watch Prey. Did you see Prey, the new one?
Yes, we did see that, and I was kind of under duress from my husband to watch that, because he likes me to give things a chance, and I did not want to watch it.
What was your takeaway from it? What did you think?
I'll tell you what. If it were a standalone movie and had nothing to do with the franchise, I think I would have liked it better. It was okay. It was well done, but it doesn't mesh for me. And I think that's more the time period that we were looking at rather than anything else.
Right, gotcha. Out of the other installments, do you have a favorite sequel to the original?
That is extremely difficult for me to pinpoint, to be very honest.
So
there are a few that I don't own. I bet you there's only one that I don't own and haven't watched multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the second one. You've got Danny Glover. I mean, it's vastly different.
Yeah, now they're in New York in the second one, aren't they?
I can't think of the city, but it probably is New York. It's a big city.
I feel like I have one recollection of a scene in part 2, and tell me if this is Predator 2 or not, but there's a scene with frozen beef or something in the freezer and a flying disc that displaces through it. That is Predator 2.
Yes. Yep, it is. They end up at a meat packing plant towards the end.
Okay, all right. I do recall that. See, and like I said, I'm going to revisit all of these this weekend, and I'm actually very excited about it. And Predator, also another thing that I picked up on rather quickly when I'm watching it was I was very impressed with the inclusiveness that they had in this film. I mean, now it's like movie makers, filmmakers, they're all striving to include a diverse cast. In the 80s, that wasn't pushed that much. It wasn't really an issue that was discussed. So you've got strong black leads. You've got a strong Hispanic woman in here. You've got obviously Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it was a diverse cast, and every character in there was strong. None of them were stereotyped. They were all given moments to shine and to really show strengths, and that's not something you saw very often, not just in the 80s, but in the genre. So that was very impressive to pick up on that now watching it.
Well, and the other thing, and I tell you this all the time, what other horror movie can you think of that's produced 2 state governors? Because you have Jesse Ventura and Arnold.
Good point. Yes, I can't think of any others.
So I think you have a dynamic group of people just to begin with, given a dynamic script.
Absolutely.
Now, to go back to, do you mind if I add something?
Oh,
I wanted to talk a little bit about continuity. I'm big for continuity in my horror movies. Like, if you're going to do multiple sequels, I want something to stick around. Yes. And one thing, and you'll notice this as you watch through them, the second one has Gary Busey in it, plays a real slimeball character.
He usually does.
And 20 years later, whatever, year the Predator was put out, the one before this last one, they bring back Gary Busey's son for that one. And I love that continuity there. Yeah,
that is cool. Yeah, and I look forward to picking up on these. I like continuity too, but a lot of times I won't pick up on something until I've seen the movie 20 or 30 times. I'm like,
okay,
that's cool. I didn't catch they did that. Or, shit, they messed up there. That's a mistake.
Right.
And
right,
then every time I
right.
watch it, I'll see nothing but that.
But that, yeah, I've done that too.
It's like, damn it, why did I notice on that? I shouldn't have paid any attention to that. Do you have a favorite
Right.
scene in Predator?
Yes, actually, when Sonny Landham, who plays Billy, is standing on the log and he's throwing off all of his weapons and he's waiting for the Predator to come for him. That's my favorite scene. It always has been.
Yeah, and that was, I think that was a jaw drop moment too. I mean, I knew it was going to happen. I knew that his demise was imminent at that point. It's just the way they executed that scene, and there's so many things about Predator that was so far ahead of itself.
Yeah, definitely.
You know? I mean, some of the music and some of the music and the visual effects were a little bit 80s, but
sure,
not much at all. Most of it carried itself as a movie that was way out of its time and still stands on its own, even by today's standards.
Well, and you wait till you start watching the other sequels. You'll see that they keep the music.
Good.
It comes back, and I was so excited with that because, again, for me, that is it's my happy place. It's my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Things like that.
You know, and it's funny. A lot of horror fans mention a comfort zone with horror, that they're comfortable with it. It's a familiarity, like a blanket, a warm, comfortable blanket.
Yeah.
They reminisce. It's nostalgic. It's something that they did as a child with their family, and certain movies will trigger happy memories, or they're just come to be so familiar with a certain franchise. Myself, I like to play Friday the 13th when I'm doing housework or writing something or whatever I'm doing. That's my comfort blanket. That's my background music that I put on, and I'm comforted by that because I'm familiar with it and I don't have to pay attention to it because I know what's going on without having to think about it.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Do you have anything else that you're looking forward to as far as the Predator franchise? Maybe I hear they're making a couple more movies between the Prey timeline and the 87 movie. Is there anything that you might be looking forward to seeing in that? I believe one of them is supposed to take place in 1718, so we're getting closer, at least we're a couple hundred years up from Prey.
Right.
Is there anything you'd be looking forward to seeing?
I guess, like I said before with Prey, the time frame not my thing. So I don't know how I'll feel about if we end up in the 1700s or the 1800s. I don't know how I'll feel about that.
It would be strange to see Mozart sitting at the piano and having the hunter alien come up and zap him with his laser.
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I agree with you. It would be a little odd.
We'll see.
There's no comfort in that. You're taking away our comfort blanket.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I think one thing I would love to see is let's get back to Predator versus Aliens. Those were fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to take a spin down that again.
I would too. And okay, two things on this. I had commented, I watched this with some friends last night, Predator, and I said my favorite Predator was in Alien versus Predator. I love how he teamed up with the lead lady. And they worked together and he helped her. Yes,
that was spectacular. I love that too.
I did not see that coming, and that was my favorite out of the movies that I can recall. Yeah. It might change after this weekend. I might watch it and think, oh man, part 2 is sweet.
I will tell you, it's very violent. I think to me that one would be the most violent.
Yeah, well, definitely be checking that out.
Definitely lots of blood there, but it's good though. You have a really good cast in the second one. I mean, you have Danny Glover, Bill Paxton, I believe, is in that. So I mean,
nice.
There's a good cast in there, and they make good choices. It turned out well.
Excellent. Yeah, I look forward to it. And do you have anything else that you want to mention before we end our episode?
No, I don't think so. This has been delightful.
Well, all right, Amy. Well, I thank you so much for joining us here. I've really enjoyed this talk about Predator, and thank you again for reintroducing me to the franchise. I really look forward to seeing it again, and I really enjoyed, like I said, speaking with you about this And I look forward to maybe talking with you some more in the future.
All right. Sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And you have a great evening.
You too.